This video supported in part by...
It's just a VR YouTube channel.
A couple of months ago, when I first took a look at this tiny Atari 2600 from Super Impulse, which had several games on it that we had not seen in any other Super Impulse releases, I said then I would not be surprised if some of these games started coming out in independent releases. In fact, I would not be surprised if several of these ports made their way to a new line of tiny arcade cabinets. Yeah, that's what I said. Hey, welcome back to Gen X Grown Up. I'm John, and I am a Gen X Grown Up, and in the least surprising fulfilled prophecy ever, I came across this new Micro Arcade release from Super Impulse, which includes Millipede and Combat, two titles we first saw in that tiny Atari 2600. It also includes a bonus game. It doesn't say what it is on the box, but we're gonna find out what it is together. So let's get to the table and check it out right now. Here he is, then our little Micro Arcade Millipede and Combat still on the card. Let's take a quick tour of the card before we crack it open. You can see it says that it's Series 3, item 371. Now down here, as usual, it advertises authentic gameplay and arcade graphics with a Combat screenshot, but hey, it's gonna catch your eye if you love Combat. Around the back, just a bunch of marketing and legalese, and up at the top, this cute little diagram that has call-out arrows to every single little function that the Micro Arcade has. We've got a pretty good view of the device hovering in this little plastic bubble, but let's get it out of the package and take a closer look. Inside, we've got the Micro Arcade player. We'll focus on that in a second. It comes with a free charging cable, of course. We have instructions we'll get to in a second, and then a catalog, which normally I wouldn't even dig into this, but there has been such a drought of tiny arcade, Micro Arcade releases that I want to see if anything new is in the pipeline. I can see here they're advertising some not playable sound and light arcade keychains, and this 2600 joystick keychain with some sound effects. That's been out for a while. On the other side, they're showing the lineup of tiny arcades. I don't see anything new there, but over in the Micro Arcade section, here's our Millipede and Combat we're looking at, and look at the future stuff coming up, or maybe it's out and I just haven't seen it yet. There's Warlords and Tempest, and we got a Rally X pole position also in the Micro Arcade line. So I will have to keep my eye out for those. And then we have these instructions. Should we give these a good read? Absolutely not. Trash. And before we give it a play, let's take a quick tour around the device hardware itself. Exactly what we've seen from all these Micro Arcades, no surprises. First, it has that really cool clear exterior design so you can see all the chips inside on the board. I really like that design. Little D-pad here are just 4 independent buttons. You have an A and a B. Top right is the power on and off switch. Top left, we have the speaker on and off. On the bottom, you have that micro USB charging port. And around the back, we have this metallic backing plate, some logos printed on it with this nice kind of red metallic finish. I really like that, and the 4 screws just to hold the whole thing together. All right, let's power it up and take it for a spin. Well, if you were curious what the secret bonus game was, let it be a secret no more. It's Pong. So we advertised Millipede and Combat, and Pong is the bonus third game. Let's save Millipede for the last. That's the headliner. Let's start with Pong as a bonus game. This looks to me to be exactly what was on the tiny Atari 2600 as far as I can tell. Yeah. Oop, I've already lost a ball. There we go. Yeah, it's Pong. It's Pong with a D-pad, which is, can only be so good, and it's kind of that more vertical aspect, but, it was a bonus. You didn't actually pay for it. It's Pong. It's surprisingly playable, though, I have to admit, and nice to have as a bonus here, so yeah, why not? The AI is not too punishing. In fact, it's kind of stupid, so maybe it gets more difficult later on in the game, but right now it's a real casual kind of game of Pong, and gotcha! Back to the menu here, let's try out Combat. I mean, if these are the titles from the tiny Atari 2600, then I think we know exactly what Combat's... Yeah, well, there it is! The same menu and everything, the same difficulty because it has AI. Yeah, tank visibility, missile, all that good stuff. Open field was kind of... open field, let's take a look. Yeah, it's a little more visible in person, but I can tell you it's better... It's a little easier to see, actually, than the 2600 screen was on this mode. I've switched it over to the complex maze here, and unfortunately, there's no sound, no rumble of the tanks or anything. It's only bullet shots. Yawn. I mean, it's combat, which is great. You know, something that one of our viewers pointed out that I didn't mention when I looked at that tiny Atari 2600 that had this Combat on it is that it says it's Combat, but it's actually only the tanks version of Combat. There's no planes or, you know, jets or biplanes or any of the other versions or types of combat that you had in Combat. It's only tanks, and that's what you have here with the option of 3 different mazes. And here's that simple maze option. And yeah, but it does have AI, which is cool. I mean, it doesn't surprise me to see these titles that were bundled in that tiny Atari 2600 coming in their own products. I really hope that the arcades make their way to tiny arcades, because the audio on these micro arcades is just so subpar. Just blip, 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 and yeah, okay. And that brings us to Millipede. Yeah, that's the same version, which is good. It was a good version. And something new we had seen. Let's see if we can get it started up. Oh yeah, pick your starting score. Cool. We'll start from the beginning. Yeah, it just feels like some random blipping noises. The sound isn't doing a lot to accentuate the game. It's like this kind of some music and noises when you die, and that's about what you get. But we are progressing up through the mushroom field, which is, you know, what you want in Millipede. Oh, there's dying, which you don't want in Millipede. So just like the previous two, I mean, the game is intact, just like it was in the Tiny 2600, but the audio just does so much disservice to these titles. You know, audio is an important part of these classic arcade games, and in this case, it just sounds pretty weak. All right, so since this is the only title that has scoring that really matters, I just want to see if the high score persists. I don't recall that they really do in these micro arcades very often, so I'm not that optimistic, but we should try it out anyway. All right, I'm up to about 12,000. Let's go ahead and kill off my last couple of archers here. All right, so I can put in my name. Well, I put AAA, but it's 12,172. Let's power it off and back on and jump back into Millipede. Yeah, no high score persistence at all. I mean, why bother putting your name in if you can't save the high score? That's too bad. Why not put a chip in these to let me save my high score? That would be a really nice addition.
All of these little micro arcades from Super Impulse are great if you're a super fan of old school arcade and video games. They're great if you're a collector of these little handheld toys. But if you are a purist and you want specifically certain kinds of game sounds or game visuals, you know you're not going to get them here in the micro arcade. And we've kind of come to expect that. The big bugaboo here in this case, though, is they just released all 3 of these games on that tiny Atari 2600. So we know these exact versions should sound way, way better. It comes down to the subpar sound chip and audio reproduction of these little micro arcades. I don't know about you, but these run for like $20, $21 or so. I'll put a link down in the description if you're interested in picking up one of these. But for my money, if they added another $5 or $6, I would much rather pay $25 for these little toys with better sound than pay $20 the way they sound today. It's a nice little toy, but you just know how much better it could be, which makes it that much tougher to swallow. So in this case, I'm going to rate the Super Impulse Micro Arcade Millipede Combat Pong, we now know, combination, like 2.5 tokens out of 5. Cool for collectors, super portable, fits in your pocket, great industrial design, but really subpar sound that we know could be way, way better. How much better? Well, you should check out this review I did of that tiny Atari 2600 from Super Impulse. That one is a real winner. I think you're going to enjoy what that one has to deliver. Hey, I really hope you found something to enjoy in this video, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.